Because as I always say, there's plenty of people who grow up abused and in horrible situations who don't grow up to become murderers.
No matter what way you look at it, it was wrong. And there are so many people that grow up in like abusive households and turn out completely fine.
I think it's pretty obvious that he was fully responsible for these crimes. Like, he can talk about his troubled childhood all he wants, but many people have psychological traumas. And as far as I'm aware, only a tiny percentage of them go on to become serial killers.
Plenty of people. Problem with the plenty of people argument is, for one, it trivializes the pain and hardship those people have endured. Imagine the following. A man saying to a woman, there are plenty of females that have been molested as a child and they do not withhold sex from their husbands. Or a white person saying to a black person, plenty of black people have suffered racial discrimination in the past, so why is it a problem for you to be pulled over by the police? Just because plenty of people have happened to survive and overcome the trauma they have endured in their lives, that does not give us the right to trivialize what those people have gone through and act as though it was nothing, that they turned out fine. How do you even know that those people turned out fine? They could be suffering in silence because as a society we do not want people to complain and speak up about their pain. We want people to suffer without showing us that they are suffering. That is where the saying comes from, man's best friend. We call a dog man's best friend because when it is sick it will find somewhere to hide and suffer alone. And when it feels better is when it will come back and pretend that it never had anything to complain about. The joke being that a woman will complain a lot, disqualifying her for the position of man's best friend. And honestly, how many people do you know that turned out fine? Just looking around, it's astonishing how many people are actually not fine. In fact, I would go as far as to say that most of us are the opposite of fine. Do you know anyone that does not have some sort of psychological issue wrong with them? We are a society of gossipers, braggers, bullies, predators, compulsive liars, fakers, con artists, emotionally unavailable, insecure cheaters, users, abusers, assholes, psychopaths, narcissists, power-hungry, racist. I could go on and on and on here. So, to say that a lot of people have been through what you have been through and turned out fine. Again, how do you know that those people turned out fine? Have you questioned all of them and asked them if they are fine? That the abuse they suffered as a child has had zero negative effects on their lives? Then there is the fact that not every person is raised the same way. No two people have had the exact same experiences as a child. Not even children raised in the same household. No matter how unbiased you are thinking that you may be treating all your children the same, there will undoubtedly be slight differences in the way you treat them. For instance, the child you think might need more protection and the child you may feel can look after him or herself. Children will notice that. Even twins do not have the exact same experiences in life. One twin may have her heart broken while the other twin might be the one doing the dumping. And people have biological and genetic differences. They may value and be attached to different things and experience pain in diverse ways. Then there is the way people are seen by others, which varies from person to person, depending on how they look, their personalities, how they are built. Some tall guys appear confident and strong just by being tall, while others are called lanky and unbalanced or clumsy. So, saying plenty of people is being dismissive of that person's actual life experience. I've even seen experts using this argument thinking that it's a catch-all argument. Then there are so many people saying I was beaten as a child and turned out fine, to which I say, well, have you really? Are you really the example of human being that we should all be aspiring to? Do you really wish that everyone was like you and the people in your camp? Just watch any true crime show and you will learn how almost every serial killer has been beaten as a child. In fact, if you ask anyone in prison, they would all tell you funny stories of how they got their ass beat as a child and how it taught them the difference between right and wrong. You are in prison, dude. You don't get to say you turned out fine. There is a disconnect in some people when they talk about themselves as children, as if they are speaking of someone else when the truth is that it is a dissociative state that the mind uses to protect itself from the trauma it has endured in the past. Because at that time when you were being beaten as a child, if you had to recall that memory as an actual memory, you would remember it as a very traumatic experience. I remember a few years back a video shared on social media about a boy who presumably was spending too much time playing video games. His father then grabs the PlayStation and takes it outside, smashes it with a hammer while the child is seen crying in the video. Now as I scrolled down in the comments section, and it seemed as though every adult found it funny, but the truth is that to that young boy that was an extremely traumatic experience, coupled with the embarrassment that it was posted on social media for everyone to laugh at. To everyone who does not play video games, it was a joke. The pain felt by the young boy was inconsequential to them because a video game console has zero meaning to them, but if you were that young boy, who has no friends and is being bullied and teased all day at school, to you that would be a heartbreaking experience. And to be the joke of the day when you go to school the following day. For you there is no plenty of people argument to make you feel better. Because your experience in this world is unique. Your pain is unique. For many people there is no plenty of people rationale. Plenty of people have not experienced what you have experienced in your lifetime. If you give someone your heart, your devotion, your trust, and you end up getting betrayed, then there are no plenty of people. At that time no one has experienced the pain that you're going through. Some people, attractive people, might have an inbox full of people vying for their attention, ready to take their minds off a recent breakup, but not you. You might be suffering alone, and conditioned as a boy to never show emotion because if you cry in public, you're not a man anymore. For you, your pain is unique. If you are being abused by a parent, that pain to you is unique. There is no one to share and talk to about what you're going through. It doesn't matter the plenty of people. And hearing these so-called experts saying that plenty of people have gone through what you have been through like it does not matter. That is extremely dismissive of what you have actually gone through and the hardships you've had to endure to overcome. The years of introspection, therapy, the self-reflection, to just be thrown into a pile of, quote, plenty of people. Now I'm not trying to make excuses for the actions of serial killers and other criminals that we deem evil. But to dismiss their experiences and their trauma, it creates an environment where chewed abuse can be dismissed with societies who shrug their shoulders, with excuses saying, there's nothing we can do, not my department, and I suspected something but I didn't want to get involved. Also, at what point do we stop caring? Case, children who are caught on video being taught to steal by grown-ups. We are outraged. But the moment that child turns 18 the switch flips and the outrage we felt disappears. As if that child suddenly changed into a different person capable of different choices. We forget fast the child was raised with a completely different outlook on life, on how to survive, on what needs to be done so that he or she may eat. We fail to realize that that child had zero chance of ever growing up to become one of us. So how is it fair that that child is being judged on the same basis as if it were one of our children who has been taught from day one on what is right and what is wrong? When that child has never known a different kind of lifestyle. That is like taking a wild child from some uncontacted tribe, kidnapping them, and releasing it into our society and acting surprised when it hunts with a spear even though that is all that the child has known its entire life, and judging it by our standards of morality. So saying there's plenty of people, you have to break it down and say there are plenty of people who born into a poor family at number 27, Greenville Avenue, whose name is Ernest, who learned to speak at 2 years old, who was neglected by a mother that was abused by many men and had 3 siblings, whose dog was run over by a car in front of them, whose first love turned out to be sleeping with her best friend and had to learn to sell her body to survive after being molested by a stepfather, who tried escaping from her problems by abusing illegal drugs and alcohol, was thrown out of school because no one bothered to find out what the actual problem was in her life, ended up being lured into another abusive relationship with a man who let his friends have their way with her before kicking her out, etc., etc. Maybe then you would realize that there are not as plenty of people who have gone through the same. And at exactly what point are we meant to care? Let's say that out of every 100 people who suffer childhood abuse, only 5 of them end up becoming violent abusers themselves? So, the plenty of people argument is used, meaning no one cares what you went through. But what if it's 20%? Nope. Still don't care. What if it's 1 in 3? Still nope. Okay, what if it's 50% right? Now we have the psychiatrist step in and start calling it a syndrome, right? Now all of a sudden, we give a damn? I bet there would still be some asshole out there saying, nah, still don't care. They knew what they were doing. Death penalty. And this is exactly how psychiatry works. Unless your condition has some sort of syndrome/disorder or mania behind it, then no one cares. Proof that psychiatry is a scam? If you are on trial, for the right price you can get a psychiatric expert to come down on either side of the argument. Does his childhood trauma count here? Got cash? Then yes. No cash? No. He knew exactly what he was doing. Totally sane, give him the death penalty. The problem I have with psychiatry? That is a whole video on its own. So does that mean we should just let every criminal go because they can't be held responsible? Of course not, but we must admit that sometimes people are dealt a shit-handed life. Sometimes a person had no chance of growing up to have a normal life, and those conditions are the root cause that we need to address instead of acting in hindsight. Which is what we are doing right now. Everyone is like, we know that poverty and illiteracy breeds violence, crime, and child abuse. But let's wait until the crime manifests and then do something about it. Because that has worked so well for us in the past. Sarcasm, obviously.